There's a moment when a man realizes he was never truly part of the family he sacrificed everything for. Mine happened at my stepdaughter Erica's graduation. And what shattered me wasn't screaming. It was one quiet sentence my wife thought I'd never hear. That morning, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror tightening a navy blue tie Erica had given me 2 Christmases ago. My hands shook slightly, not from age, not from nerves, from pride. 18 years. 18 years of surgeries, tuition, gymnastics camps, figure skating competitions at dawn, emergency hospital visits, and late-night study sessions had led to this day. In addition, I took out a car loan in my name for Erica and paid in full for her management studies at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. My little girl had made it. I still remember carrying 7-year-old Erica through the cardiology wing after her heart treatment because she was too weak to walk. She buried her face into my shoulder and whispered, "Don't let me fall." I never did, or at least I tried not to. Then I heard Flora's voice through the bedroom wall, low, careful. She whispered into the phone, "He can sit in the back. Connor should be in the parents section. After all, he is Erica's real father." My fingers froze on the tie knot. The bathroom suddenly felt ice cold. For a second, I honestly thought I misunderstood. But then Flora laughed softly and added, "Patrick won't make a scene." That part hurt worst of all, because she was right. I walked into the bedroom a minute later. Flora quickly lowered her phone and smiled too brightly. "You're ready?" she asked. I stared at her. "Who are you talking to?" Her fingers instantly touched her necklace, the thing she always did when she lied. "Just Erica." I nodded slowly, and in that exact moment, something inside me began quietly breaking. At the graduation hall, the betrayal became public. Flora guided me toward the front row, then suddenly stopped. "Oh," she said casually, avoiding my eyes. "Patrick, could you sit a few rows back? Connor's coming." I looked at the empty front row seat, then at her. "After 18 years, I'm still the backup?" I asked quietly. Her face tightened instantly. "Please don't do this today." "Don't do this?" I swallowed the lump in my throat and stepped back without another word. 10 minutes later, Connor arrived wearing an expensive suit and a proud father smile he hadn't earned. Flora stood to hug him while I sat alone 4 rows behind them holding flowers Erica never came to collect. And when Erica crossed that stage, she looked only at them, not me, never me. That was the moment I realized something devastating. I had spent 18 years paying for a seat in a family that had already decided I belonged in the back row. People think a man breaks all at once. He doesn't. First, something inside him goes completely silent, and that silence is dangerous. Flora came home just after midnight smelling of wine, perfume, and celebration. I was sitting alone at the kitchen table in the dark, still wearing the same tie from Erica's graduation. She froze when she saw me. "You're still awake?" she asked carefully. I didn't answer immediately. I just looked at her, really looked at her, at the woman who had spent 18 years thanking me for sacrifices she clearly believed were obligations. Then I asked quietly, "What exactly am I to this family?" Her expression changed instantly. Not sadness, not guilt, annoyance. "Patrick, don't start this tonight." That sentence hit harder than the graduation, because people only say that when they already know they're wrong. I stood slowly. "You told me to sit in the back so another man could play father in front of everyone?" Flora exhaled sharply. "Connor is her father." The room went completely still. I felt something collapse inside my chest. Not loudly, just permanently. "And me?" I asked. She crossed her arms. "You're being emotional." Emotional. After 18 years of paying hospital bills for Erica's heart treatments, after driving Erica to her figure skating practices and art school every single day for so long, after taking extra contracts to cover Wharton tuition, I was emotional. Then Flora delivered the sentence that ended our marriage. That's what real fathers are supposed to do. Real fathers. Funny how I only qualified when money was needed. I nodded slowly, and suddenly, I felt calm. Terrifyingly calm. By 8 a.m. the next morning, I'd already called the bank. "Mr. Oliver," the representative asked nervously, "are you sure you want to suspend the payment protection on Erica's car loan?" "Yes." My voice didn't shake. Second call, the private lender funding Flora's boutique business. "I'm withdrawing all financial backing effective immediately." Silence, then panic on the other end. Third call, a realtor. I stood in the living room while she inspected the house Flora called our forever home. Only now did the truth feel almost poetic. The house had always belonged to me. My name, my mortgage, my payments. When the realtor asked, "Does your wife know you're selling?" I looked around the family photos covering the walls. Every picture showed me standing slightly to the side, like a guest in my own life. "No," I answered quietly. "She's about to." But secrets never stay buried once money, pride, and humiliation collide. 3 days after the house officially sold, Flora finally came home to find strangers carrying boxes through the front door of the place she still called our home. The screaming started before the new owners even finished introducing themselves. By evening, my phone was overflowing with voicemails from Flora, furious messages from Erica, and finally, unexpectedly, from Connor himself. That was the moment I understood something dangerous. Connor didn't just want the front row seat at graduation. He wanted everything attached to the life I built. And Flora, blinded by guilt and nostalgia, was standing right beside him. At first, they threatened me emotionally, then legally. By the end of the week, court papers arrived at my rented cottage near the bay. Flora and Connor were contesting the sale of the house, claiming I had abandoned the family and caused emotional and financial harm. I remember staring at those documents while rain hammered against the windows. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. Because for the first time in 18 years, I wasn't walking into court to defend my family. I was walking in to defend myself from them. And inside one cardboard archive box beside my chair, I carried 18 years of receipts, proving exactly who had truly been there all along. The day Flora took me to court, she still believed I would fold. That was her final mistake. Rain slammed against the courthouse windows that morning while I sat alone at the defense table with a single cardboard archive box beside my chair. 18 years of my life were inside that box. Receipts, invoices, hospital bills, tuition payments, proof. Across the room, Flora looked furious, but Connor looked confident, too confident. Expensive suit, gold watch, that same polished smile he wore at Erica's graduation while sitting in the seat I paid for. Like he still thought charm could replace fatherhood. The mediator, an older woman named Judge Keller, adjusted her glasses and opened the file. "Mrs. Oliver is contesting the sale of the marital residence," she said calmly. Marital residence. Interesting phrase, because according to the law, the house never belonged to Flora since I had purchased it before we were married. Connor suddenly leaned forward. "Erica grew up in that home. Patrick had no right to throw family out on the street." Family. That word nearly made me laugh. Judge Keller turned to me. "Mr. Oliver." I stood slowly. Then I placed the archive box on the table. The sound echoed through the room. "You want to talk about family?" I asked quietly. I opened the box. First folder, heart surgery payments. Erica was 8. Second folder,
Figure skating training, 6 years. Third folder, Wharton tuition, paid in full. Connor's smile disappeared. I kept going. Car loan, Erica's car insurance, health insurance. Every document hit the table like a hammer. Flora's face slowly drained of color. Then came the final folder, thin, almost empty. Judge Keller opened it. 3 child support checks. That was all Connor had contributed in 18 years. 3 checks. Connor shifted in his seat. Money doesn't make someone a father. I looked directly at him for the first time. No, I said quietly, but the disappearance from daughter's life definitely does not make a person a father. Dead silence. Even the rain outside seemed quieter. Then I pulled out one final photograph, a picture of 8-year-old Erica asleep against my chest in a hospital chair after her surgery. I placed it gently in front of the judge. "And I have always been by her side," I said. My voice cracked slightly for the first time all morning. Flora lowered her eyes. Connor said nothing, because there was nothing left to say. Judge Keller closed the file. "The sale of the house is fully legal," she announced firmly. "This case is over." And just like that, Connor stopped looking like a father, and Flora finally looked at me like a man she never truly knew. 3 days after the court hearing, everything Flora built started falling apart, and Connor, he vanished first. That told me everything. The calls began at 6:40 on a Tuesday morning. Flora's name flashed across my screen 7 times in a row. I answered on the 8th. Her breathing was uneven, panicked. "Patrick, please," she whispered. "The business accounts are frozen." I stared out at the gray water outside my rented cottage and said nothing. "Connor said he knew investors. He promised he could help us recover after the court case. But now he's gone. He's not answering anybody."
Of course he wasn't. Connor had always loved entrances. Men like him never stay long enough for consequences. "You let him sit in my seat," I said quietly. Silence. Then Flora broke. She started crying. Real crying. The kind that comes from finally realizing the person you chose was never going to save you. "I made a mistake," she whispered. No, that was too small a word for what she had done. At the same time, Erica's world was collapsing too. 2 days later, she showed up unexpectedly at my cottage, carrying a cardboard box against her chest. Her eyes were swollen red like she hadn't slept. "I need to show you something," she said softly. Inside the box were Connor's gifts over the years. A watch, designer sunglasses, birthday cards, cheap symbols pretending to compete with 18 years of sacrifice. "He blocked my number," Erica whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Right after court." I closed my eyes for a second. Even now, part of me hated seeing her hurt. "He came to graduation because Mom begged him to," she continued shakily. "He wanted money from her business, that's all." There it was, the ugly truth. Connor hadn't come back for his daughter. He came back for opportunity. Erica suddenly looked at me with tears rolling freely down her face. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" she asked. That question nearly destroyed me. "Because I didn't want you to feel guilty for loving him," I answered quietly. She covered her mouth and started sobbing. Then came the sentence that shattered both of us. "You were the only one who stayed." The room went silent, because deep down, that was all I had ever wanted her to understand. People think the end of a family sounds loud. It doesn't. Sometimes it sounds like waves hitting a quiet shoreline, while a man finally learns how to breathe again. Winter settled over the bay the first month I lived alone. Every morning, I carried a thermos of coffee to the marina and watched the gray water move under the fog. No shouting, no tension, no feeling like I had to earn my place in my own home. Just silence. Honest silence. Then one Saturday, Erica appeared beside my chair. No expensive coat, no polished smile. Just her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, she asked quietly, "Do you still hate me?" That question hit harder than court ever did. I looked at her carefully. "No," I answered, "but I hate what we became." Her eyes filled instantly. She sat beside me while cold wind rolled across the water. "I keep replaying graduation day in my head," she whispered. "You were holding flowers, and I never even walked over to you." I swallowed hard, because I still remember standing there alone while another man wore the title I earned. Then Erica reached into her bag and handed me something small, a framed photo. Me teaching her to ride a bicycle at 9 years old. "She found this in Mom's attic," she said softly. "You were looking at me like I was your whole world." "You were," I admitted. That broke her completely. She started crying quietly against my shoulder, like she had when she was little after heart surgery. "Forgive me. I love you so much, Dad. I only realized this just now." She cried even harder. And for the first time in many years, I couldn't hold back and cried too. Not because I was so weak, no, but because I had been waiting for this moment for 18 whole years. Dad, it sounded like balm to my heart. I let myself hold her again, not because the past was fixed, not because the pain disappeared, but because sometimes healing begins when someone finally tells the truth. And here's the truth no one talks about enough. The people who quietly stay are usually the ones who loved you the most.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.